Batman, the superhero who proved you don't need powers if you have unlimited money and an unshakable obsession. Bruce Wayne debuted in Detective Comics number 27 on March 30th, 1939, created by artist Bob Kane and writer Bill Finger. He was introduced as a wealthy socialite who moonlighted as a vigilante, but the full scope of his fortune and his trauma wouldn't be revealed until later that year. In Detective Comics number 33, we learned the origin. 8-year-old Bruce witnessed the murder of his parents, Thomas and Martha Wayne, during a street robbery. At their graves, he swore to spend his life warring on all criminals. He trained his body and mind to physical and intellectual perfection, and then he needed a symbol. Criminals are a superstitious, cowardly lot, Wayne reasoned. My disguise must be able to strike terror into their hearts. A bat flew through his window. The rest is history. What makes Batman unique among billionaire heroes is how completely his wealth defines his operation. The Batcave, the Batmobile, the utility belt stuffed with custom gadgets, the army of specialized vehicles, the satellite surveillance systems, the backup plans for his backup plans. Wayne Enterprises funds it all, laundering superhero expenses through R&D budgets and charitable foundations. Interestingly, Bruce wasn't always a billionaire. For his first 54 years in comics, he was merely a millionaire. It wasn't until Batman, Legends of the Dark Knight number 61 in 1994 that writer Denny O'Neil officially upgraded Wayne to billionaire status, reflecting both inflation and the increasingly elaborate scope of his war on crime. The wealth serves a dual purpose. It funds Batman's crusade, but it also provides the perfect cover. Bruce Wayne performs the role of vapid playboy, throwing parties and dating models, ensuring no one suspects the man behind the cowl. The mask isn't the one he wears at night, it's the one he wears during the day. Green Arrow, the billionaire who lost everything and discovered that was exactly what he needed. Oliver Queen first appeared in More Fun Comics, number 73, in November 1941, created by Mort Weisinger and designed by George Papp. He debuted in the same issue as Aquaman, but while Aquaman ruled undersea kingdoms, Oliver Queen was something far more familiar. A wealthy playboy who fought crime. Sound familiar? Green Arrow was, from the beginning, essentially Batman with a bow. He had a teen sidekick named Speedy. He drove an arrow car. He operated from an arrow cave. He even had a clown-themed arch-nemesis. The parallels were so obvious that later writers would openly acknowledge them, and then systematically dismantle them. The character's modern origin crystallized in the late 1950s. Oliver Queen, spoiled heir to Queen Industries, fell off a yacht and washed ashore on a deserted island. To survive, he taught himself archery, fashioning bows from found materials and hunting for food. When he finally escaped, he returned to civilization transformed, a man who had discovered what he was capable of when stripped of privilege. But the true reinvention came in 1969, when artist Neil Adams redesigned Oliver with a goatee, and writer Denny O'Neil stripped him of his fortune entirely. A crooked business partner stole Queen Industries. Oliver lost his mansion, his company, his wealth, and for the first time, he became interesting. O'Neil partnered Green Arrow with Green Lantern in a legendary comic run that tackled racism, poverty, and drug addiction, including a storyline where Oliver's own sidekick Speedy became a heroin addict. Oliver Queen evolved from Batman clone to the DC Universe's loudest progressive voice, a streetwise crusader for the working class who had learned, through losing everything, what actually mattered. He eventually rebuilt his fortune, but the experience changed him permanently. Iron Man, the weapons manufacturer who built his way out of a death sentence and spent the rest of his life atoning for the weapons he'd already sold. Tony Stark first appeared in Tales of Suspense number 39 in March 1963, created by Stan Lee, Larry Lieber, Don Heck, and Jack Kirby. Lee designed Stark as a deliberate provocation, a rich, arrogant arms dealer at the height of the Cold War, when Marvel's young readership hated everything he represented. I thought it would be fun to take the kind of character that nobody would like, Lee later explained, and shove him down their throats and make them like him. The origin story is elegant in its cruelty. Tony Stark, genius inventor and heir to Stark Industries, travels to Vietnam to demonstrate new weapons for the military. A booby-trap explosion lodges shrapnel near his heart. Captured by enemy forces, Stark is ordered to build weapons for his captors. Instead, working alongside fellow prisoner Ho Yinsen, he constructs a suit of powered armor and a magnetic chestplate to keep the shrapnel from killing him. Yinsen dies helping Stark escape, and Tony Stark becomes Iron Man, a hero literally powered by guilt. Lee based Stark's personality on Howard Hughes, inventor, adventurer, billionaire, ladies' man. The comparison was apt. Like Hughes, Stark was brilliant and self-destructive, capable of revolutionizing technology while systematically wrecking his personal life. The comics leaned into this darkness. In the 1980s, writers David Michelinie and Bob Layton gave Stark a drinking problem. Not as a one-time storyline, but as a recurring demon. Tony Stark lost his company, lost his fortune, watched his friend James Rhodes take over the Iron Man armor while he spiraled into homelessness. Demon in a Bottle became one of the most acclaimed storylines in Marvel history. Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal in the Marvel Cinematic Universe transformed Iron Man from B-list hero to cultural icon. But the core remained, a man trying to fix the damage he caused, one invention at a time. Blue Beetle, the genius inventor who inherited a legacy he couldn't unlock and decided to build his own instead. Ted Kord first appeared in Captain Atom number 83 in November 1966, created by Steve Ditko. If that name sounds familiar, it should. Ditko had just left Marvel after co-creating Spider-Man, and his new hero bore more than a passing resemblance. A wisecracking, acrobatic, bug-themed crime fighter with a secret identity as a scientist. The original Blue Beetle was Dan Garrett, an archaeologist who gained powers from a mystical scarab. When Garrett died fighting Ted Kord's villainous Uncle Jarvis, he passed the scarab and the Blue Beetle identity to his former student. There was just one problem. The scarab didn't work for Ted. This became the character's defining trait. Unlike every other legacy hero, Ted Kord couldn't access the power he'd inherited. So he compensated with what he did have: a genius-level intellect, Olympic-caliber athleticism, and eventually, a fortune. When DC Comics acquired the Charlton Comics characters in the 1980s, Ted Kord was reinvented as a billionaire industrialist. His small research lab became Kord Industries, a scientific corporation rivaling STAR Labs. He built his own gadgets, his own vehicles, his own beetle-shaped aircraft called the Bug. If the Scarab wouldn't give him powers, he'd engineer his own. Ted joined the Justice League in 1987, where writers Keith Giffen and J.M. DeMatteis transformed him into the comedic heart of the team. His friendship with fellow hero Booster Gold became legendary. Blue and Gold, the pranksters of the League, always scheming, always bickering, always having each other's backs. In 2005, Ted Kord was murdered in Countdown to Infinite Crisis, shot by Maxwell Lord after refusing to join his conspiracy. His death was controversial. Fans mourned the loss of one of DC's most genuinely likable heroes, but his legacy continued through Jaime Reyes, the third Blue Beetle, who finally unlocked the Scarab's alien technology. Ted has since returned in various forms, often as a mentor to younger heroes. Black Panther, the king whose wealth comes not from corporations but from an entire nation, and a metal that doesn't exist anywhere else on Earth. T'Challa first appeared in Fantastic Four, number 52, in July 1966, created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. He was the first black superhero in mainstream American comics, predating the Falcon, Luke Cage, and Storm by years, and he arrived not as a sidekick or supporting character, but as a king who systematically defeated Marvel's most famous superhero team. In his debut, T'Challa invited the Fantastic Four to Wakanda, then ambushed them one by one, neutralizing each member through superior technology and tactical planning. It was a test. T'Challa needed to know if he could handle the villain Ulysses Klaue, who had murdered his father, King T'Challa, years earlier. If he could defeat the Fantastic Four, he could defeat anyone. What made Wakanda revolutionary was its premise: an African nation that had never been conquered, never been colonized, never been subservient to European powers. Hidden from the outside world, Wakanda had developed technology centuries ahead of any other nation, fueled by vibranium, a meteoric metal with extraordinary properties found nowhere else on Earth. T'Challa's wealth is difficult to quantify because it's not personal wealth in the traditional sense. He's the ruler of a nation sitting on the world's only vibranium deposit. Various estimates have placed Wakanda's resources at trillions of dollars. Forbes once calculated T'Challa's net worth at $90 trillion, making him not just the richest superhero, but the richest fictional character ever created. But unlike Bruce Wayne or Tony Stark, T'Challa's money comes with obligations. He's not a private citizen who chooses to fight crime. He's a head of state responsible for millions of people. His decisions about whether to share Wakanda's technology with the outside world have geopolitical consequences. The Black Panther mantle itself is ceremonial, a title earned through ritual combat and the consumption of a heart-shaped herb that grants enhanced abilities. Chadwick Boseman's portrayal in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, beginning with Captain America: Civil War in 2016, transformed T'Challa into a global icon. The 2018 Black Panther film grossed over $1.3 billion and earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Picture. Boseman's death in 2020 was mourned worldwide. His T'Challa remains the definitive portrayal of a hero who proved that wealth, power, and moral responsibility could coexist. Subscribe for more superhero history explained.